So I hope the audience are awake, because now I think we will have a very interesting discussion. And first of all, I would like to welcome those at the panel. It's very good to have such a bunch of experienced people that can say something about value-driven social change. And I will first give a small introduction. I don't know if you were here at the first session this morning, but I learned from Peter, who chaired this first session, that it is good to say a few words about yourself, who you are, your journey, what you are doing, and then come to the aim of this session. So for those who were not here this morning, I'll kick off by saying that I live in India. I have lived in India for 17 years. I love India, that's why I'm here. And I'm based in Delhi. I was initially born in Denmark, a school teacher, and have a very big interest in education, in environment. And I have traveled all over, not all over the world, but I have traveled a lot and lived in many different places. But I have found India as a home now, and my job on a daily basis is to raise money for the organization Humana People to People India. So that was just a small background about myself. Then I have a few words to say about this topic, value-driven social change. So I think that value-driven, it means that decisions, they are based on values, and that your values is a core part of how you operate. And it is values, in my view, such as human rights, freedom of expression, opportunities for all, social justice, and environmental awareness. A society should be built on fundamental values, which provides quality of life, opportunities for personal and professional growth, health, education, plus honest and fair treatment of its citizens. A society committed for respecting the law, human rights, and the environment. One leader cannot do it alone, nor can a single political party. This effort is the responsibility of all the citizens. Everyone must give something for the benefit of the collective, because after all, it's a responsibility and effort of the citizens. Social change works toward creating a more inclusive and fair society. Social change plays an essential role in promoting and contributing to gender equality, enhances workers' rights, fight against discrimination and different castes, religion, gender, and propels the cause of racial equality, as well as sustainable environment. The barriers, the obstacles of social change can be politicians, governments, companies, but also tradition, custom, and old habits. Implementing value-driven social change involves aligning initiatives, policies, and projects with these core values to address social change, promoting inclusively and foster long-term positive impact. The major pillars are defining these core values, measuring impact, and long-term sustainable inclusion of these core values into projects and strategies. Social change plays an essential role in promoting equality. For example, Humana People to People India, where I work, we are focusing a lot on gender equality and fighting against discrimination for vulnerable, marginalized communities, and work towards creating a more inclusive and fair society. We believe in people-to-people change, which embodies respecting people, listening to them, and using their insight to optimize values for both the people and the planet. Social enterprises are organizations that operate with the primary goal of achieving positive social and environmental impact, while also generating revenue for business activities. They are a powerful example of value-driven social change because they combine the principles of traditional business with strong commitment to addressing social and environmental challenges. So I think that value-driven social change, it is absolutely such an interesting subject. And I think that we who are working with the community, we have a responsibility to make sure that the work we do are driven by values, good values, and good social change. So by this, I would like to give the word to the panelists, and please give your take on what you think is the essence of value-driven social change, and start by saying a few words about yourself so the audience can also understand like, who is it that are actually talking. So maybe we can give the words to you, Kedar, to say a few words about the subject.
Thank you, Ellie. Very good afternoon to all of you. And first and foremost, I extend my heartfelt thanks to World CSR Congress organizers for inviting me and allowing my NGO, the Corbett Foundation, to be a part of this panel discussion. Thank you very much, Ali, for this introduction. My name is Kedar. I work with the Corbett Foundation. This is, as the name would suggest, this is a wildlife conservation organization. And since my last 27 years, ever since I completed my master's degree in zoology, I have been a part of this wildlife conservation circle. I started my career with WWF India, one of the largest conservation NGOs in this world and the country, of course. And thereafter with TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, and now I work with this wonderful organization, the Corbett Foundation, with whom I have spent now more than 15 years. And when we talk of values, actually, the values that I always cherished since my childhood, to be a part of nature, to give solution for conservation of nature. I think Corbett Foundation provided the right kind of platform, and it's a symbiosis that we are together. This is a very, very broad topic, and when we talk of CSR, there is environmental sustainability, which is a very important vertical, and a lot of the companies are already pledging their support towards this. But out of this environmental sustainability vertical, I think there are several sub-themes and topics that need immediate attention. And one of the things that, the area that I work in, and I personally believe, and I urge to all of you, to look at wildlife conservation as one of the important support areas for any kind of CSR work. And I'll say why. When we talk of wildlife conservation, we always think of tigers and elephants and lions, the megafauna that we have. India is blessed. India is indeed blessed with tremendous amount of diversity in its species, in the habitats, and of course the people as well. And right from the Himalayas to the Western Ghats, end of the Western Ghats, and from northeast states, Lakshadweep, islands, all are unique in their own ways. Our country represents all the biomes of this world. Everything that we have in this world, we have a representative of that. Uh, uh, the fellow panelists who were there in the previous panel, she works in Spiti, which is a cold desert area, and I'm really glad and hats off to her commitment that she left her job in media and is now completely dedicated to working there. So it's a very difficult situation. She has already expressed some challenges that she faces, and I work in some of the very popular tiger reserves, Corbett Tiger Reserve, Kanha, Bandhavgarh, Satpura, and all these are high tourism areas. Lot of people, thousands and lakhs of people visit these areas every year, and they go back looking at a tiger, looking at the beautiful scenery and the forest and everything. However, all these areas have very high human population. There are villages surrounding the core areas, the buffer zones are full of people. And there is, when people and wildlife, they exist together, more than coexistence, is this human-wildlife conflict that happens. And to address the human-wildlife conflict, I think it's very important that we look at conservation in a very holistic approach. And when I say holistic approach, is everything that comes under the CSR ambit, whether it is health, education, livelihood, or anything that can help the communities live in, as a coexistence with nature. I'll give an example of a very, very high-profile project which India launched about 1.5 or almost 2 years ago. All of us know that cheetahs have been introduced in Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh in 2022, and it was a very auspicious day. We all know why. But when we implement a project like this, we have to look at it holistically. It's not important just to look at how cheetahs will survive, but we have to also understand when cheetahs will move out of Kuno, they will be interacting with people. They will be interacting with the cattle there. And we need to have that community on the side of conservation. Only then any conservation project will succeed. Otherwise, the best of the intentions, with the best of the intentions, all our efforts will fail. We work in Kuno, and we have seen in 50-odd villages the pathetic condition of the local communities there. Their education level is practically zero. There are people, there are students actually. I wouldn't call them students, unfortunately, because although they may be registered in the school, they hardly attend the school because there is no one in the school. Schools are locked. This happens in most of the PAs, by the way. And they don't even, they're not even able to write their names. Now, this is the condition that we are living in such high-tech world. Sometimes we talk of AI in cities. We all have smartphones, but their children don't, even write their names properly. Now, this kind of discrepancy, I think we must take a holistic approach. And if we want to bring value to any kind of conservation work, I think we have to look at it holistically, where people are given equal importance to wildlife. And unless I really appreciate the previous panel discussion where they've stressed a lot on the education. Education is the fundamental of everything, we all know that, but it has to come into practice. It has to come into letter and spirit. Otherwise, all our plans, all our programs, fanfare that we create around it will all fail. I think we'll talk about it more later. I will let other panelists speak.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. I fully agree that this with living in harmony with nature, it is really an important value. So thank you very much for that. So Manish, let's hear from you.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I'd like to thank World CSR Congress for bringing up this topic, value-driven change. Now, this thing is losing essence in our implementation projects. So I assume that a lot of you would be directly or indirectly related to social impact projects over here, either as a implementing agency or maybe as a CSR donors also. But the value part is very important and very eminent. I have seen Heli has covered the entire gamut of value and Kedar has covered the holistic approach as value-driven change. I would like to give you guys a different kind of a value, as a functional value that we are perceiving as a Centum Foundation while we are designing and implementing any project. First of all, a brief introduction about myself. I am Manish Prakash Sahu. My journey started during my school days. I used to visit my native villages in Gaya, Bihar. And there I have seen the poverty and lack of health facility. Then only I decided I want to be a social sector professional. I want to do something for my community. Because I was into BSc Physics Honors, I was also doing MSc, I would have been a scientist. But I decided to join this sector and did a course from XISS, and then I have been into this sector for the last 18 years. Started my career with Women Development Corporation, got into UN, I was working with UNICEF, International Labour Organization, and then got into corporate with Tata Strategic Management Group, and then Ernst & Young, being into consulting, social sector consulting. Before Centum Foundation, I was a group CSR head of RPG Group, and now currently I'm heading Centum Foundation. The foundation is technically it's a CSR arm of Centum Learning Limited, which is in turn a group company of Upgrad, and also it is a society registered under Society Registration Act. We are implementing projects across the country in the area of skill development, education, environment, livelihood, and rural development. Now, value-based social change. For this, we have been applying at Centum Foundation the BSE indices. So it is not Bombay Stock Exchange, but it is value for beneficiaries, value for stakeholders, and values for the ecosystem. So whatever projects we design, we see that what is the value that we are creating for the beneficiaries. That is quite obvious. All the social sector projects, it starts from the need assessment. That what is the need in the community, what are the expectations of the beneficiaries. Then also we are matching the expectations of the donors, that what are the expectations of the donors. Then, but we need to go beyond that, that what else the value that we are creating. I would like to give an example. In a skill development program, apart from training the youths in vocational skills and providing them with placement opportunities, we are working with them towards their upskilling, towards their career progression. Also, we are interacting with the employers that how the working conditions of our placed candidates could be improved. Hence, ultimately, we are working toward decent working conditions. We are covering components of better working conditions, dignity at workplace, opportunities for growth. So this is how we are creating value in the whole skilling ecosystem. I'll give you another example of a project wherein we are training women as a tractor driver. Now this is a project where apart from providing the training on the track, 2 days of during the end of the training, these women and these youths till the land of a small and marginal farmers. Also the sourcing of tractors are done from the local community. So in one shot, we are providing triple benefit to the community. And this program, we co-created in consultation with the donor. So it was not that, okay, fine, we had proposed, we have designed and we have proposed some project, but we were discussing and we had a lot of brainstorming session that how with a defined set of funding, we could create more value into the project that we are designing. So there are several examples. Another example that I would like to state is implementation of an integrated village development program in Palghar Jawar, Pathardi Panchayat. There we co-created, we designed the program in a way that more than 75 and 80% of the activities were funded from the government schemes. And that to timely uptake and timely utilization of the government schemes that we were able to deploy. It's a very successful model, and the corporate who was involved in funding the program, they only just did the gap funding. Wherever the government scheme was not there, they did the gap funding for it. So this is how we are trying to create value, and we are trying to maximize on the resources that we are getting from the donors and the support that we are getting from the stakeholders and the beneficiaries. So this is the perspective that I wanted to put up with respect to value-driven social change.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a slightly different way of looking the word value, more in terms of economy, but I think that is also totally okay. And I like this that a value for better value for working conditions. I think that is really important. So let's hear from you, Pravina, what you have to say
Thank
about.
you, Helen. Good evening to everyone, and I'm thankful to the CSR team for giving this opportunity. Already Helen told about my name, Pravina. I'm Pravina. I have 3 decades of experience in the different sectors. There is a change in my life itself. First, I was into the academic side. I'm from the Agriculture University. My master's degree is in the agriculture. So I did the research there and I continued as a staff. Then I moved to the NGO sector. I worked in Care India. So it is an international NGO. So after that decade, I entered into the corporate social responsibility. Now I am the CEO for one of the foundation, Virco Foundation. So coming to our foundation, we are into a 2-pronged approach. Mainly we were into health and education. In health, we are giving the free cancer treatment to the children, all chemotherapy and trauma treatment and also different surgeries, everything including medicine we are giving the free. And coming to the other thing is dialysis, free dialysis to all the adults and the children and whoever is affecting that. This is about the health. Coming to education, we are focusing on early childhood education, girl child education, digital education, and girl child sponsorship, and also the infrastructure building in the rural areas. See, the change that we could made in this project is education. Coming to early childhood education in the rural areas, because most of the participants are from the NGOs as well as from the corporates, you know about the Anganwadis. See, in the ICDS program in Anganwadis, no facilities are available in the Anganwadis in the rural areas. They are in the rented buildings and they don't have infrastructure, they don't have the toilets, they don't have the books, no outdoor, no indoor, nothing is there when we compared with the P1 and P2 classes in the private sector. So we thought that we want to bridge that gap and we supported all the Anganwadis. We have constructed the new buildings, including toilets, compound walls, everything, and we have provided both indoor and outdoor games. And then we have provided the books, we have given the trainings to the teachers, and we have mentoring the parents, unholding support to the parents and the teachers to bridge the gap, whatever that government is having. So in this, we could find a lot of change in the children as well as in the parents. See, what change that we could bring is the parents itself telling that my elder child studied in the Anganwadi and went to the primary and high school. Their knowledge levels and the awareness and the social skills are different from my younger daughter. Younger daughter who are trained in the full equipped schools, they are more socialized, they are more skillful and knowledgeable, and their brought up is different. See, in what way they are different when we asked, they said social manners, greeting the others, table manners, eating style. I said, how can you afford the dining table? See, dining table and table manners and all those things goes to the above middle class and the middle class people. We are treating to the poverty and below poverty people. Then she said, no ma'am, that's not the way you should say. Our children are so eating on the table. They are getting small tables, whichever is available in the home, and they are eating. And they were saying they want the spoon. That's the way the people are expressing to us, the parents are telling. And coming to the uniforms also, we have provided the uniform, shoes, bags and all books on par with the private schools. And the children are saying, we are interested to go to school. Before that, I could see the children crawling on the drainage lines, and wherever there is a mud without clothing, they used to be there because the parents goes to the farming and they are the wage workers, either in the farms or in the non-farming sector. The grandparents used to take care of the children, and the grandparents are not aware of all these things. Sometimes they take rest and the children are crawling on the roads. Now no one is crawling on the roads, no one without clothing, and no one is there outside the schools. Everybody is interested to go to the Anganwadi schools, and they were enjoying like anything, especially the outdoor and indoor. We have provided the indoor tables and all those things and the play equipments, painting things, everything. So they were enjoying. There are no words to say about their enjoyment. they are enjoying like that. And coming to the girl child education, most of the girls dropouts are after 10th class and after intermediate, +2. So we thought that to avoid that, or to at least to reduce the dropouts, we thought to support the scholarship for the 10th passed out girls and 12th passed out girls. So we are supporting most of the girls, and they are doing their masters, they are doing the BScs, they are doing the engineering, they are into the different bachelor's degrees. So they were also enjoying their education. I don't say that only because of our sponsorship, but at least it is a motivation factor for them to continue their education and also to reduce some burden to the parents. That is the change that we could bring. And another thing is major change. Of course, these are all the basic things that everybody known about that, but the other thing is energy. We have the wind energies, we have the solar energies, but in factories also we are using the solar panels for the power, and also in the government sector. In Andhra Pradesh, we have the local governance, Sarpanch, president, local bodies are there. They have their own office setup, executive office support. For that, we are giving the solar panels. So the entire power is made from the solar only. In spite of that, they are giving the extra power to the poles, to the government itself. And the government is paying the money to the local governance people, and they were enjoying that money. So by seeing that efforts, the schools are also coming forward, and they are asking for the solar panels for their power. That's the change that we have seen in the rural areas. So these are the major three things. And apart from this, you could see the change in the women also in our areas. All of you know about the microfinance, financial inclusion, and women empowerment, training, all those things you know. But the change that what we have seen is, if you see the decision-making power in the women, including the educated women like me also, if you take the decisions, the financial decision is taken by the men. Most of the time, financial decisions were taken by the men, but wherever that we have trained, wherever we have empowered the women, there the decision is by both of them. I don't say it is the women decision, and I don't say it is the men decision. It is the coordination between the men and the women, and there is a equity for the women also, and they are taking the decision. That is the major decision, change that we have seen. And time utilization pattern, 24 hours, if you see, women are the ones who takes less space for their entertainment. Morning they cook, they get ready for the wage labor or some work or something, and again the evening they come back, again they cook, and again they clean. So the entire time goes for cleaning, cooking, feeding. But there is no personal space for the women. There also we could see some space. We educated them in such a way that you should enjoy for yourself. You should take out some time for your entertainment. Of course, if you go for the training also, you enjoy there, or you take some space. And if you are not well, go to the hospital, take care of you. You are the backbone of the family, you should take care. So that's the way that we have empowered them and trained them. Now they are able to take some personal space.
Okay,
So these are the major changes that we could see in them. So I'm very happy. Finally, I came to a position that I'm not saying that I could see whatever the changes that I want to make, I made to the community. I'm thankful to all my bosses who have given me free hands to give the work to the community.
Thank you so much. To drag out from what you were saying, I would say that you are giving a value of respect for the children, respect for the women, and equality for both girls and women in your community. So I would say that is, if I go back to the title of this conversation, then it is the values that you are bringing to the table. So I have some different questions for my panelists, but maybe if some of the audience have got some questions, we can start with that, and then we can go back to some of the questions that I have. So do we see any questions here? Anybody who would like to add? Are you sleeping or what? Okay, so I will take some of the questions that I have prepared.
She has one question.
Oh, so sorry. Can we get a mic there?
Um, Hi, my question goes to Mr. Kedar Gore. When you're talking about holistic development in the community, what exactly do you think kind of encompasses holistic development?
So thank you for asking this. Everything that we all as CSR professionals want to support in bringing up the community, whether it is health, whether it is education, livelihood, anything. Now, when I talk specifically about local communities that are living around wildlife areas, wilderness areas, their life revolves around forests or any of the ecosystems that they live in. You take example of a village in MP, say for example, Kanha National Park. It's a very popular destination, wildlife destination among tourists globally. Yet, the people there have 100% dependency on forest. If you look at the way they build their homes, they source the wood from the forest, they construct their own homes. They still do that. They send their livestock for grazing in the forest. That's free grazing for them. They depend on the local plants to treat themselves. That's, medical for themselves. If you look at livelihood, they have dependency on non-timber forest produces, which they are allowed in certain areas, of course, to extract. So everything is dependency on forest. Now, when they do that, they come into contact with wildlife quite often. And wildlife, when we talk of wildlife, is tigers and bears and even snakes during monsoon season, most of the times. Now, we have to ensure that their life is less dependent on forest, and if there is any conflict, we can only minimize it. We cannot completely eliminate conflict, that's just impossible. But we can at least minimize it. Most of the times, now, there is a huge discrepancy in the sense when people, elite people go on safaris and they see them coming in fancy cars, enjoying themselves as a safari tourist. And now that person who is living in the forest has probably never seen the tiger in the forest going on a safari. So they think that, okay, I'm living here whole my life. I'm unable to go into that forest because I am stopped because there are certain rules and regulations that don't allow me to venture into that area. But yet tourists can go in that core zone in 20%, 30% of the area and they can enjoy seeing a tiger and come back. So these are, and then there are aspirations. Now we are dealing with local communities for many years. We have realized that when children, they pass out 10th or 12th, they have no other option in front of them. Now, it's very easy to say that, okay, they can go to the nearest town and get themselves a job. Now, when they go do that, they are actually competing with people who have studied their entire life in urban areas. Now, that competition is just not competition. It doesn't happen. Unless someone is really enterprising and bright. So that's frustration for them. They don't want to get into farming because they see that as a very, very low income opportunity for them. The kind of annual income per family of a Baiga cannot be more than 100,000 INR in a year. Now, just we can imagine what kind of income sources that they have. Now, all these are discrepancies, there are aspirations, it creates frustration. Now, when you have educated youth to an extent, but they don't have jobs, they don't have opportunities, then empty mind can become devil's workshop. There are poachers around, there are antisocial people around who have vested interest in forests. They want a tiger, they want bear bile, they want some timber, and all this can be tapped from these youngsters. Now, that's the reason when we look at holistic approach to conservation, we have to look at every of this aspect and address it. And it starts from basic education right up to livelihood opportunities that we can sustain, because the project can be only for 3 years. After that, it has to sustain on its own. And they have to live their life, which is, they can take care of their families. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. Manish, I would like to ask you, how do you ensure that the intended impact of the projects that you are doing are aligned with the values that you have intended?
Yeah, so we had a session on impact measurement, all those things. We had a session. So while we are designing any project, that time only we are able to clearly identify the extra mile or the differentiator or the extra component that we would be covering in order to create value for our BSC, beneficiaries, stakeholders, and the ecosystem. And then we definitely establish our KPIs along the output, outcome, and impact. And accordingly, we measure and we review the change that we have been able to create.
Okay, so Praveen, what do you say to the same question? How do you make sure that the projects you have are aligned with the values that you initially thought of before starting the project? Because I feel that it is very important that whatever we do, we think, what are the values? What is it that we actually want to do with this project?
Yeah. In early childhood education, the values that we have seen is the emotional, the expressions of the women, what they feel about their children. So when they go to the well-furnished schools with the uniforms and systematic education, that emotional change, that the value that they have given for that. And another thing is, by seeing one child, the other children are joining and it is creating a lot of impact. That is one more value for that. The third thing is, the siblings, the other children also wants to follow their sisters. So that's the value that we have seen. Initially we thought that it will be a great resistance from the mothers, but now they are the ones who are coming forward and supporting us.
So another question I have is that, and we can go to you, Kedar, what do you consider as a fundamental core value that should underpin what you are doing, what you are going to do as a sustainable change?
Well, the fundamental value is something that we have to be compassionate. We have to understand that wildlife also has equal right to survive safely in their habitats. Now, if you look at CSR spends, I think less than 10% goes towards this cause. And that, in my opinion, as a conservation biologist, I would say it's really, we can do better. Because when we are looking at wildlife conservation, again, coming back to the holistic approach, there are more than 1.5 lakh villages in this country that are in protected areas. And that's quite a bit. So if we really want to, go, the excellent idea of getting one village completely as a model village that was just discussed. Something like this can really work very well, and we can create a value chain economy around this. There are, for example, if you take one gate of a national park, 2 villages are probably benefited because of that. Because, there are shops set up, there are safari guides, there are vehicles and everything, so they're very happy. They support tiger conservation immediately. Tiger is their god. You just go about 20 kilometers away from that gate, and that fellow will say, I hate tigers, because the tiger is coming and eating my livestock, the deer is coming and eating my crop, and I'm not allowed to go there because, there are restrictions. So linking conservation to local economy, I think, is the key, and we have to address this as soon as possible, because we are seeing lots of human-wildlife conflict situations in the recent years. Although we have more than 3,300 tigers and 75% of the tigers of the world in this country today, it's not something that we should be very, very jovial about. Yeah, it's a success story. Project Tiger is a great success story, but we have these tigers in very few protected areas. Most of the other areas are devoid of tigers, or probably there are no tigers. I'm just taking tiger as a symbol of conservation. There are many other habitats, for example, grasslands, for example, wetlands. They don't even feature in our support list. We have to recognize them as ecosystems equally important as forests. They have equal capacity to sequester carbon. In fact, grasslands, research has proved that grasslands can sequester more carbon than forests. Someone just said in the previous session that there are less trees, or rather no trees in Spiti, but actually that's a cold desert. So it is not meant to have trees. So let's accept the fact that these are ecosystems that need to be preserved in the way that they are. So we get approached by several corporates. They request us for tree plantation support. I mean, they say that we want to do tree plantation, can you help us out? Now the best way, again, value is here, that a corporate can really adopt a degraded forest area and help recreate a forest that has been lost for a few decades. And that is possible when you commit for a long-term support, although you may be compelled to support only for 3 years or maximum 4 years. But I think there could be some ways that some strategies could be changed, or talk to the higher ups and get some more support towards that area. Identify an NGO, and it can work very well. It will give a long-lasting impact, and whatever carbon credits or whatever carbon-related calculations need to be done can be done very, very easily there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that companies should commit themselves to planting more trees, but not only giving funding to plant the trees and then goodbye, because then there will be no value, there will be no change. It needs to be long-term commitment, and luckily most companies and NGOs are also now understanding that it is not only about planting the tree, but it is also like a tree is like a baby. You need to look after it for many years for it to grow. So we have 5 minutes left. Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Hi, sir. You were just talking about Spiti, and you mentioned that an ecosystem like that would not have trees. Can you just elaborate a little more, because we've heard about stories where in the Sahara desert also people have tried to grow a small patch of forest maybe. So, and we have some trees in the region. It's not like we don't have at all. So I was talking about how we can change a little bit of that, or at least grow some such plants that can be actually grown there, so that there is some sort of oxygen at least. In the winters, when there is snow everywhere, even the small cacti and the grass that is there is also covered. So we grasp for air for every breath. Can you suggest something otherwise? Because in my mind right now I'm feeling very negative and hopeless when I hear you say that such ecosystem needs to be like that, and maybe there is no hope. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, thank you. I was expecting you to react to what I said. Thank you for that. In fact, we must understand the evolution of life. Cold deserts did not become cold deserts overnight. They were cold deserts even many hundred years ago, and the animals there, or the people there have adapted to live in that condition. Now, Spiti, the flagship species would be snow leopard, correct? Or blue sheep, or markhor, or these kind of animals. They're all desert living animals. And that's the reason they are there. If you look at snow leopard distribution, it will not come down below a certain altitude. So that's the adaptation that they have grown into. Now, when we try to create changes in the ecosystem by by planting trees or perceiving what we think is the best for that place does not help. Uh, the best disaster that we can say is, I think we all know about Great Indian Bustard, or probably we have heard about Great Indian Bustard. Okay, it's one of the most critically endangered bird today in the country. Less than 100 survive. So probably it is on the verge of extinction. It requires grasslands, only grasslands. It cannot survive in forest. But, and most of the grasslands, natural grasslands in this country are unfortunately categorized as revenue wastelands. And these wastelands are then given up for any kind of infrastructure development. Now that's okay, I mean that's a procedure, so it happens, but the wasteland tag is so unfortunate. Now it's an ecosystem, and a very, very important ecosystem. Now Great Indian Bustard, we cannot pick up the bird and keep it in Kanha National Park, it will not survive. It has been evolved to survive in that condition. Now, when you look at a grassland or a semi-desert area, you think, oh, it's completely barren, we must have greenery everywhere, and government schemes have planted trees in such areas and have completely destroyed those ecosystems. They have eaten up the habitats taken up by these, needed by these species, and just for the sake of creating greenery. I mean, those were the days when this kind of approach was there and it worked, but now people are actually worrying how to take these, return these habitats to the original forms. Now, this is where the understanding needs to be there as to why a particular area is in a particular state. One more example. There is everyone knows Andaman Nicobar Islands is one of the beautiful biodiversity hotspots that we have. In Great Nicobar, a 72,000 crore project is being planned, and probably almost 200 square kilometers of forest is going to be completely destroyed for this project. Now, there is something called as compensatory afforestation. All of you know because you are from the industry. Now, to compensate for that forest loss, we are trying to plant trees in Aravalli Hills. Now, this is something absurd. It's a joke actually, but yet we are doing it. Now, we need understanding not only at the grassroots, but at the topmost level, that such things are not going to solve the problem. Firstly, there are certain things, areas as no-go areas. Well, if you can respect that, but if you are unable to do that, don't plan disasters like this. We can do better.
Okay, I think with that, I would like to say thank you very much to Dr. Bhatia and his team for organizing this conference, and thank you to you guys at the panel. You have really done a good job in explaining the values that you would like to put forward for a social change. So thank you very much to everybody.